Nannup is more than just a popular tourist town. On their property, 18 kilometres to the southwest, Dave and Deirdre Patterson have dedicated their lives to the care of injured wildlife, in particular the black cockatoo, which is unique to Western Australia's southwest forests.
Huh? You going to show your sexy tail? You're not going to. You're Dad.
This is the aviary where we keep the red-tailed black cockatoos. They're actually a subspecies of the red-tail called an aso, which is they're entirely exclusive for the lower southwest of Western Australia. They don't occur anywhere else in the world, and they're classified now as a threatened species. And as far as I know, they're about to be classed as endangered because there's been a massive decline ever since European settlement in Australia of these birds, and a lot of it's been caused by the logging of all their habitat trees, nesting hollows, and also loss of food source. A lot of people, particularly calm, have been blaming it on land clearing by farmers, but the farmers in this area that I'm talking about, around the Nannup area, nobody's cleared any land to any extent in the last 50 years. There we go. Would you bring in just one?
Yeah, just one.
My wife and I have been looking after injured wildlife now for, particularly cockatoos, for around about 14 years. And a lot of the birds in here have come from logging coops. They've felled the trees with the nesting hollows in it, and they've handed us in chicks with broken legs and wings, blind in one eye. And a lot of the other ones have come in as adult birds, and they've been hit by cars because they're now forced to feed along the road verges, which is one of the areas that they don't log. So everything's been forced to feed along the edge of roads, and that's not a good idea if you've got to fly from one side of the road to the other and there's a truck or a car coming, because you're bound to get hit.
Originally, all the injured cockatoos were kept in one enclosure. Recently, a new aviary was donated to the Pattersons and constructed with the help of volunteers.
This particular aviary, we've got the white-tailed black cockatoo, the subspecies Bordens, which are classed as endangered. The only spot in the world they do occur is in the lower part of Western Australia, where we are situated at the moment. And these birds are still declining at a rapid rate in this area, and that is mainly due to their the logging, and as I was saying earlier, the loss of habitat and nesting hollows and food source. And it's time they put a stop to this madness that they do in the bush and sort of sat off and had a bit of a look at it, because they're just systematically going from block to block, just logging everything and also setting fire to it. They're burning out the food and killing everything.
I'm Deirdre, and I help my husband look after injured wildlife. I've been in this area all my childhood life. Used to live at Jarrawood near Nannup, went north, got married, had a couple of children, come back to the southwest and noticed the difference in the forest from when I was a child to what it is now. It was a bit of a shock.
This tree here is a Maori, and it's got a nesting hollow in up top, probably 50, 60 feet up, and this tree is probably 400 years old minimum, and you just can't grow this in a day, and this was what previously has been chopped down just for wood chip. 99% of nesting hollows in this region are in the Maori tree itself, not in the Jarrah. The Jarrah tends to be too solid, and there's no feature, no hollows in it or anything like that. So these trees are absolutely vital to the survival of these black cockatoos. We have got one bird that we've had for the past 6 months, and it's got a disease called beak and feather disease, which it's extreme feather loss. The beak grows to a really long length, and it is a terminal illness in the bird, and it's never ever been recorded in the black cockatoo species. It's only ever been known to occur in the likes of the rainbow lorikeet and a few of the Corella family and the 28 parrot. And in my opinion, the shortage of habitat has caused a red-tailed black cockatoo, the aso, to go and use a hollow that's previously been used by a 28 parrot or something similar, which has got this disease, because it's only transmitted by faeces or feather down, and its young one has caught this disease. And that disease, if it runs right in the Black Cockatoos family, it could very well turn them into critical. They could become extinct in years to come.
This bird did have a broken leg, and I ended up strapping the leg, and now it's got to take 3 weeks for the bandage to stay on, and I'll release the bird back into an aviary so I can get flight and make sure that the leg can work okay, and hopefully release it back to the wild. This little guy is a purple-crowned lorikeet that comes from the karri forest around the southwest, and he was handed in by Calm. The karri tree was fallen and they ended up finding the babies in the karri tree. I did have 3 to start off with, but released 2 back into the wild, but this guy wasn't feathered, so I had to hang on to this one. Sort of raised him up so he's able to fly, but the problem is he's got badly human imprinted and he cannot be released back into the wild, so therefore he's kept it in my care for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I was born in Nannup and spent my childhood here and also my schooling. I went up north and worked for many years, and after 20 years up there, come back down here, and we're out the bush one day and found a cockatoo, so we decided to look after it, and since then we've been looking after and caring for these birds, as I said earlier, for about 14 years now. And we were totally disgusted about what had happened to the bush around here ever since I was a child, and there was a big change in it. When I come back 20 years later, where I expected to see forest, I only found stumps. And so we felt really sorry for these birds, which are now endangered, and we're hoping to breed them up in captivity and get a little flock going, and maybe release a small flock into Helms Block if it does get saved. It's on a moratorium at the moment, but they wish to log it. And the other block over behind it, which is Butler Block, which has been logged for the last 3 years and burnt, has now been turned into, I heard, a national park, which to me seems a bit stupid, because all the good nesting hollows, food source is in Helms Block. And you can't have a national park when there is no food and no wildlife, because everything's been burnt. So to me the obvious way to go would be to try and save Helms Block, turn that into a national park, and then any flock of these endangered Borden's cockatoos, which are classed endangered, they're the long-bill white-tailed black cockatoo, we'd like to release them just over the back of our 20 acres of bush we've got here into the 3,000 odd hectares of nesting hollows and food in Helms Block itself. And we feel we'd be able to monitor birds from here because it's right in our backyard. It's only a matter of jumping our back fence, and we can make sure that they're healthy and are breeding well and going well out in the wild. And we could leave this big complex we've got here, leave one end of it open, so if anyone did have a problem they could always come back and there'd be regular food, water and seed there for them, and they wouldn't have a problem, we feel.